At the heart of the federal versus states' rights issue is the 10th Amendment. So we're going to break that down today so you really understand what's going on and who has what power according to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. Here we go. The powers not delegated to the United States. We have three things here. The powers, which is authority, not delegated, delegated means given, and United States refers to the federal government. So we have the authority not given to the federal government by the Constitution. So there is authority and power delegated to the federal government by the Constitution, the whole document itself. So it also tells me that there are powers not delegated to the federal government. So let's continue. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, meaning the states have not prohibited that power to the federal government. Well, wait a second. How can a state prohibit power from the federal government? That would be another amendment. Those powers that are not delegated to the federal government by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states, according to an amendment, are reserved. Reserved means set aside, like you reserve your seats. They're set aside. So all those powers or authority are reserved to the states respectively. Another big concept here, meaning each of the 50 states can have their say-so in any law not written in the Constitution, or to the people. So the Constitution allows for individuals, just like you, to create a law, the people themselves. So let's go through this one more time. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. The authority not given to the federal government by the Constitution, nor prohibited by the states through amendments, are reserved or set aside to each of the states or to the people themselves to create a law. So this tells me two things, which is really, really huge. One, the federal government is limited by the Constitution to very specific powers. There's also tells me that anything not written in the Constitution given to the federal government specifically, that authority is held by the states. So any states' rights issue, federal states' rights issue, can be broken down to this one main concept. If it's written in the Constitution for the federal government, the federal government has authority. If it's not written in the Constitution, the states or the people have the authority. Plain and simple. Couple big issues. One, let's say welfare. Who has authority over that? Well, first, by this test, you have to do what? Yes, read the Constitution and find out who has authority over welfare. Well, when the Constitution was made, was welfare even in existence? No, so they didn't even think about that. So that was never given to the federal government. But how about the amendments? Yes, there could have been an amendment since the Constitution was written. So you would have to go through all the Constitution and the amendments. If nothing is specifically written, given authority over welfare to the federal government, then each of the 50 states, reserved to the states respectively, each of the 50 states can write their own rules, create their own laws about welfare. Now, what about another one? It's a little more gray area. That would be illegal immigration. That's huge in the news. It was recent that the state of California created a law signed by the governor telling the state police and all the other authorities in the state of California they may not cooperate with the federal government over illegal immigration, meaning the federal government says if you're illegal here, you got to go and we're sending in ICE, we're sending in police to get rid of you. And the state said, well, hold on, no, That is a states' rights issue. We create a law that says you can't come in here, you have no authority, they may stay, and nothing may happen. So now we have a classic federal versus states' rights issue. The federal government is saying they have authority. Probably they're taking the line of security of the nation, which is written in the Constitution. The state of California says, no, we have authority because this issue is not specifically written in the Constitution. We have authority. Oh boy. So now what happens? The federal government says we have authority. The state says we have authority. What happens? That's where the Supreme Court comes into play. They are the ones who make the decision. It is their job to look at the Constitution and decide who has authority. So we'll probably imagine in a short time someone's going to challenge this law by California, and it will be in the Supreme Court. That is how it works. If it's not plainly written and one side says they have authority and the other side disagrees, it goes up to the judges, to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decides. And then that would be getting into the government class where we have separation of powers and who has authority over what. But suffice it to say, the Supreme Court decides who has the correct authority. And that is federal states' rights issue with the 10th Amendment at the center of it all.